Hmm. Good morning, millionaires. Good morning, millionaires. Hope everybody's feeling good this morning. Uh, Happy day after Memorial Day. Hopefully, you feel powerful. Hopefully, you got to recharge your batteries a little bit. Let's get this party started.
You have something special. You have greatness in you. Hello, this is Les Brown, and you're in the right place at the right time because we're going to
Facts.
bring the millionaire out of you. Just hold on.
All right, let's get it. Let's get it.
Thank you. Please announce yourself.
No, it's all of them, my boy.
All participants are muted. Entry and exit tones are off.
Hey, I appreciate that. Whoever that was having my back. Yeah, man. To me, if there's any secret to success that I've ever learned that I feel like anybody can apply at any given time, it's the principle that you are only an introduction away from a whole nother level. You are only an introduction away from a whole new level. A lot of people don't recognize it, but when we're praying for opportunity, when we're praying for a solution, when we're praying for a breakthrough, a lot of times what we're praying for is a person, right? If there's any secret to success, whether you're talking about life, whether you're talking about business, it's learning to connect and form relationships with other people. That's probably the most valuable skill there is. Matter of fact, if you look at every holy book, I don't care if you're talking about Christianity, Islam, Judaism. If you look at any holy book, I don't care if you're talking about Buddhism, it's pretty much a book about networking. It's pretty much a book about the ways that you can strengthen your connection with other people. Because one rule remains true since the beginning of time, and that is if you can do it by yourself, you probably ain't doing too much. You with me? So, a lot of your life, a lot of the quality of your life is going to be the quality of your relationships. That's a good one to type in the comments. That's a good one to use to share when you put this on somebody else's timeline, right? Like share this, but at the top say the quality of your life is the quality of your relationships. Can you get what I'm saying, Vanessa? Hey, Miss Wood, good morning, good morning. Yeah, Dennis, let them know, bro. The quality of your life is the quality of your relationships, Gloss Boss. You know what I'm saying, made man? Yeah, good morning, Samaya. Good morning, good morning. Somebody give it to me. The quality of your life is the quality of your relationships. We've done 2 weeks in a row of Prospects on Demand. The first week was all about how to find people that are qualified and ready to go when it comes to a business partner. The second time we talked about how to kill skepticism, how to establish rapport a lot quicker. Because what we know is that rapport is 80% of the sale. This is why you have so many entrepreneurs get started and they do so well right away. But then it's like all of a sudden they start to peter out a little bit. A lot of that petering out has to do with the fact that they've now run through their warm list. Okay. They've run through all their family and friends that they already had rapport with. That's what happens when they start off hype, they get some results, and then they end up quitting. See, they don't have as quality a relationship with these strangers as they did with their own family and friends. They didn't have the rapport. Write this down in your notes, y'all. Before I can trust you, I have to know you. Somebody give it to me. Before I can trust you, I have to know you. You know, we always say that they got to know you, like you, and trust you before they buy from you. But think about it. Before I can trust you, I got to know you. And I'm going to give you one hack this morning that'll help you form relationships quicker than any other way. It's realizing that there are a lot of people around you who are secretly suffering. There's a lot of people around you that are suffering, y'all. I talked about this a couple weeks ago because you always hear this phrase, we all in the same boat. We all in the same boat. Check it out. We all in the same storm. Some people got a yacht. Some people got a canoe. Some people got a raft. Some people is out there floating with one of them, vests on. You get what I mean? But everybody, everybody is going through pain you know nothing about. And a lot of times the reason you don't know nothing about it is because you're so caught up in your own pain. If you want your life to have meaning, then what you're saying is you're going to have to get through a ton of your own suffering, and you're going to have to live in such a way that other people's needs are just as or more important than your own. You've got to get to a place inside where you want to relieve other people's suffering, because you start to recognize that we're all one. If you want to relieve your own suffering, a lot of times it's going to come from you helping to relieve other people's suffering. I don't know if this is making sense to anybody out there, but if you can learn to connect and form relationships with other people, I believe that you're going to be okay no matter what walk of life you're in. And part of the reason that it's so powerful, right, is that mastering the art of connection requires a deep understanding of other people's pain. It requires you having a value system that prioritizes understanding other people's pain. So what I've got for you is 4 different concepts this morning that I hope you'll find useful as you begin to go through this life as a light worker, as you begin to go through this life where you're trying to fulfill more and more of God's purpose for you. I dare you kind of look at these proven concepts right here. You'll get a lot of this from therapy if you got a good therapist, but I dare you write them down and contemplate these. Here's the first one, y'all. Ask yourself, how are they suffering and how can I help? How are they suffering and how can I help? It's very interesting, but everybody from your mom to your siblings, maybe you got siblings that are married. Maybe you got siblings that are single. Maybe you have both your parents. Maybe you only have one of them. But here's what I know for sure. If you're going to understand this concept right here, you got to understand suffering in the broadest sense of the word possible. Everybody has different problems, y'all. But the way I think of suffering kind of encompasses everything from small inconveniences, unfulfilled wishes they may have, all the way to really deep mental anguish. There's suffering everywhere. And there's much more suffering everywhere than most people recognize or choose to acknowledge. And, I feel like suffering has a bad reputation. But I'm going to tell you something. There's no cons without pros, y'all. Just like there's no pros without cons. And if I'm being really real with myself, a lot of my success in life probably comes, first of all, from having a different opinion. But since we're on the subject of suffering, I want you to understand it's never good to see other people in pain, but suffering ain't always a bad thing. A lot of times suffering can be real powerful because suffering is what leads to discontent. Yesterday, me and my brother continued our, at this point, years-long debate about whether capitalism is good or bad, And he sent me this passage that was talking about how when capitalism first hit and there was all this progress, it was also the most pain that they'd ever gone through. And so he sent me this message. He was like, yo, you know what I mean? But the pain, though. And then I was like, yeah, but is the goal really contentment or is the goal peace? You know what I mean? Because people confuse peace and contentment. Check it out, y'all. Peace comes from growth. You got what I'm saying? I know this is off the subject a little bit, but just bear with me. In my opinion, peace comes from growth. Content, well, listen, content, you ask me, is the devil. If things can only grow or die, it is content that's going to make us die. It's going to make us wither. It's going to make us wilt. It is discontent. And this was my whole point, bringing us back full circle. To me, discontent is from the Creator. Discontent is what makes you want to get out here and solve problems. Suffering can be powerful because all of a sudden it's creating opportunities for you to solve problems, not just for yourself, but for other people. And another way that suffering is really, really powerful is that it can create these incredible opportunities for deep connections with people. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I believe that suffering is one of the main reasons people form connections at all. I believe suffering is one of the main reasons people have relationships with other people at all, because connecting with somebody else a lot of times can alleviate the suffering. It can transform everybody that's involved, and usually it's for the better. Check it out, y'all. Y'all ever heard the phrase misery loves company? Misery loves company. Now, a lot of times we use that to talk about how you need to stay away from gossipers. You need to stay away from backstabbers. 48 Laws of Power says avoid the unlucky, like it's an infection and what have you. But check it out. There's another whole spin to that thing. When they say misery loves company, I want you to think about the fact that, like, a lot of times the people that are in misery need company. They need some. Have you ever heard the phrase, when a person deserves love the least is when they need it the most? People are going through it. And if you will take that opportunity to connect with that person, not the pretty person in the room, not the most popular person in the room, not the one that's over here holding court, but if you will connect with the person that's sitting there in the cafeteria by themselves, if you connect with the person where you look at their body language and their shoulders are just slumped over, they're staring at their feet. You know what I mean? If you connect with the one who's looking like they're a little bit ostracized, they're looking like they're a little bit of the outcast, you never know what kind of magic is in that person. You never know what kind of way you can change the whole world just by choosing to see that person. And I'm not talking about right now about growing your business. I'm talking about growing your life. Am I making sense to everybody? Here's the second one I got for you. Learn to be a pain detective. Learn to be a pain detective. I love that, Samaya. Out of all of that was a powerful thing. Are they suffering? How can I help? And I take it to another level. How are they suffering? How can I help? Because believe you me, they suffering, Queen. They suffering in some way. So that leads us to number 2. Learn to become a pain detective. We always hear people say your network is your net worth, right? It's like a little cliche at this point. And like a lot of cliches that people just accept as true, I think it's, I think most of this stuff is incomplete or just completely wrong, right? I think this is one of them, because they always say network is your net worth. But I always say it's network times self-worth that becomes your net worth, right? It's network times self-worth that becomes your net worth. So how do you grow your network then? Especially if you have trouble connecting with other people. Answer I give everybody is simple. You got to become a pain detective. I've said this so many ways when I talk about meaningful conversation. I talk about meaningful conversation, the definition of meaningful conversation. Since we know nobody cares how much you know till they know how much you care. Well, that would make the definition of meaningful conversation when you leave the conversation, when they leave the conversation knowing you care, and you leave the conversation knowing what to care about, right? You got to be a pain detective. Maybe your whole goal when you're having these conversations, instead of it being to perfectly execute some questions that Ali gave you, maybe you make your goal a little bit bigger and you recognize that really what you're looking for is the ability to figure out their pain, right? How can you become a pain detective so that you can connect with other people in a genuine way? How can you focus on their needs and their pain first and your needs second? I know this might sound kind of counterintuitive, but it helps to consider this landscape that people are coming from, right? It helps if you kind of picture it right now. Most people who are looking to network or connect with other people, their main concern is going to be what those people can do for them. You got me? Not what they can give, not what they can provide to others. So somebody write this in the comments. When you need a friend, be a friend. When you need a friend, be a friend. This whole life is about creation, connection, and then contribution. Creation, connection, and then contribution. You see it in the stories that God told us about the beginning of this world. First God created, and then he created it for connection, right? And then he contributed, like gave his only son, all of this kind of vibes. Y'all know what I'm talking about? And of course, we all get to see ourselves in that story. I'm his only son. You his only son. We get to see ourselves in all of these stories. What are we giving? What are we saying? The whole play is create and then connect and then contribute. What are you doing to create opportunities in these relationships, connect with the person, and then contribute something? What are you doing to create things with the opportunities you're given on this planet? Use what you're good at to connect with others and then find a way to contribute. People be looking for their purpose in life. I tell them all the time, passion times service equals purpose. Passion times service equals purpose. What do you love to do? How can you use it to help somebody else? That's your purpose on the planet. Millionaires, if you really look at it, the main people on this planet you consider mediocre are always looking to take. They always looking to be entitled. They always looking to use somebody else. Their main concern is what other people can do for them, right? But the most successful and high profile people on the planet, they tend to be the huge givers of value to the world. It's like a secret nobody recognizes. Once you become valuable, you become powerful. The crazy part is those that give a lot, they tend to be surrounded by takers all the time. So if there's any truth to this rumor that people at the top can be aloof, they can be a little bit unreachable, they don't want to deal with everybody, a lot of times, millionaires, it comes from them having so many negative experiences with other people who want to take advantage of them all the time. What I'm saying is everybody's going through pain. You know, I used to run all these kiosks. Some of you know, some of you don't. But one of the weirdest things I learned about human nature is that the people that look the meanest, if you can break through that mean barrier and actually get them over to your kiosk, actually get them over to the store, actually get them to walk, past a certain threshold and enter your domain, those are the ones that buy everything. The reason that they act so mean is because they're so used to going in stores and buying everything. This is a metaphor, but I hope you're following me. They're so used to people kind of like taking advantage of the fact they have no self-control, okay, that they built up this form to protect themselves where they just look real mean. And they're hoping that them looking mean is going to somehow prevent you from bringing them close to the store, and then they end up buying everything away. They barely trust themselves. But if you're an amateur, you look at their grimace and their mean countenance as somehow a reason you should stay away. As you become a pro, you recognize their mean look and their gruff exterior as being a signal. Woo! Get them to the booth, baby. Get them to come close. Because if I can get them to come close, they're going to buy everything in the store. Y'all get what I'm saying? But you ain't going to be able to peep that unless you're able to see through the facade, unless you're able to really reach for the pain they got inside. And I'm telling you, it's the same way in every walk of life. I'm telling you, it's the same way with everybody you meet. Don't be intimidated. Get intimate. Here's number 3. Everybody with me still? I know I'm kind of going deep this morning, but I hope somebody catching what I'm giving you. Here's the third one I got for you. What if you made it a priority to understand communication versus connection versus escape? What do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? Communication versus connection. What do I mean by connection versus escape? What do I mean by communication versus escape? See, when you're connecting with other people, what you need to bring with you is genuine interest, genuine curiosity in their needs. If you can have genuine interest in somebody, if you can seek to be interested instead of interesting, that's a superpower, y'all. You're going to get something huge in return because everybody else is on the exact opposite kind of vibe. Millionaires, this is what's going to set you apart from the crowd. In conversations with other people, especially when we're networking, we can feel when we're freely communicating with somebody else, right? We can feel when we're deeply connected. And we can feel when somebody's trying to escape the conversation. You got me? Best thing that we can do to have better relationships with other people is to pay very close attention to what you got going on inside while you're talking. What you got going on inside while you're interacting with this other person. Because I'm telling you, your anxiety is coming out through your pores, your body language, your tonality, the way your eyes look. You got me? And so is your genuine care and concern for somebody else. If two people are only communicating, they might be speaking to each other on a surface level. They might not be touching anybody involved real needs. In other words, nobody's probing for anybody's real suffering. If that's the case, maybe this is where we take the conversation a little bit deeper. Maybe we take it in a more sincere direction. Maybe we ask some deeper questions. Maybe we reveal something personal about ourselves, since that's a really easy way to build trust. Again, if you need a friend, be a friend. Maybe you take a few more risks so you can create a real connection with somebody. On the other hand, if you feel like somebody's trying to escape the interaction, maybe you pump the brakes and try to figure out why. What's making them feel uncomfortable? Did you accidentally set off some kind of salesman alarms in their head? What is it about the conversation that's painful for you? What about this conversation is painful for the other person? Can you address that pain head on? I was at this conference, and a sister on stage, she runs this business called Brown Toy Box. And she was breaking down how sometimes when she's in rooms with people, her being a Black female entrepreneur that's kind of like jumping into a new space, she was kicking it with him about how sometimes when she senses a little discomfort in the audience, she said, I'm still sensing a little hesitation, Mike. Break it down for me, or what's going on? And then because she addressed the weird, awkward feelings in the room, it opens everything up. Now the person ends up saying something like, oh, yeah, but I don't know that we can create a section just for Black and brown toys and everything. Oh, that's what you were thinking. No, you don't have to create a whole section for our products. You can put it right there with all the other, right? She addressed it head on instead of ignoring it. She addressed the pain that this person was feeling. She addressed this whole world, this whole narrative they were creating in their head. And then it makes it so that other people in the room chuckle. She's able to bring the energy to a more comfortable, fun, memorable place. And then she gets that deal done. Am I making sense, y'all? Be interested, not just interesting. Here's the fourth one I got for you, and then we out of here. Focus on transformational relationships, not transactional relationships. Everybody with me? Focus on transformational relationships, not transactional relationships. I know this sounds simple, but it is shocking how few people truly understand what we're saying right now. How few people truly use this in their conversations and their interactions with the other people they meet. When it comes to building networks, y'all, when it comes to connecting with other people like a genius, we all got to market. We all got to sell ourselves in some way. And this can start to cause you anxiety. This can start to feel like you ain't being completely authentic. This keeps us disconnected from each other. But it's important to remember what that is. What's causing those negative feelings? It's just disconnection, y'all. It's just disconnection. It ain't nothing else. So when your connection with somebody else is inauthentic, that's what's making you feel anxiety. It's the fact that you're there to sell them something instead of serve them in some way. It's time to transform that a little bit. This is where you recognize that if you're going to make any real impact, it has to be from the mindset that you got to serve before you deserve. You got to serve before you deserve. Any of y'all ever seen my TED Talk? Any of y'all ever seen my TEDx joint? Check it out, y'all. If somebody offers you their solution and you haven't even shared your problem with, they're begging. This is what most people call selling. They're begging. But if somebody shares their solution after you've shared your problem, where now they're just helping you out. They're not selling, they're helping. You got what I mean? They're not begging, they're serving. You get what I mean? And the illest thing about this concept is that you're stepping out on faith to do this. You're making the invisible visible. Everybody thinks, we were just talking, like, everybody thinks it's the visible world that's the real thing. And it is on some levels, but do you understand that everything visible is being caused, is being created by something invisible? We couldn't see the idea, but we can see the chair. We couldn't see the concept, but we can see the TV. We can't see the wind, but we can see the waves. Does this make sense? All I'm saying to you is that if you want to turn the invisible into something visible that everybody can see, it helps when you're thinking about them first. It helps when you're thinking about the people that you want to contribute to first. It helps when you're able to see the suffering and the pain, which for most people is the main catalyst for change. If you're the one that comes along and can see it, can help them unpack it, can help them acknowledge it, you're helping to change the world. Does that make sense, y'all? Does that make sense? All right. I hope it does, y'all, because now we're going to change ourselves. Now it's affirmation time. Appreciate that, Miss Kareem. She's like, yeah, that TED Talk was fire. I appreciate that. If anybody wants me to send them the TED Talk, then just reach out to me and I will send it to you. We did all kinds of magic tricks in that thing. It's like, we laughed, we learned. It was a lot of fun. So if you haven't seen it, then reach out to me and I'll send it to you. But right now it's affirmation time, y'all. Let's go. Let's go. It's affirmation time. I'm calling on the live line right now. Calling on the live line. I appreciate everybody that gave stars. I appreciate everybody that liked and commented and shared it with somebody else. That's one of the main ways you can learn this, y'all. Teach somebody else. If you want to learn it fast, I always say the Facebook group. You can join Entrepreneurship. Always say make sure that you kind of like teach somebody else what it is that you're learning. Okay, let's get it. Let's get it. All right, repeat after me. Say it like you mean it, y'all.